Hello! So on this channel I've been talking a lot about note-taking, particularly the digital note-taking concepts and tools and features that you can now use to help you navigate your information effectively. And I think the bit that really excites me is building a system that helps you to navigate your notes in a way that you can find the exact information that you might want or need very quickly. And as I talked about before, when it comes to projects, they are details driven, but often the systems that you use to organize and keep your notes don't operate at that level. And Protolyst, which if I haven't mentioned is a tool that I'm developing, can help you to do that. And so today I wanted to just go through how on Protolyst you could get started organizing at that details level. And so I'm going to go through a simple workflow showing you how you can start to take your notes on Protolyst and grab the important information and bring it to the surface so that you can find it and use it quickly to write something. So when you create your Protolyst workspace and you get rid of any of the starting pages in it, it will look something like this. And the first thing that you're going to want to do is add your own information into it. We're going to do that by using this blue plus button, which is in this grey section, which we refer to as the sidebar. And anything that you add into your workspace through this plus button is known as a page. So we'll hit the plus button and it will add a new page into your workspace. And there are a few different options and settings for you to create this page. We are gonna ignore pretty much all of them, apart from this first one here, which is called text editor. So if you choose that type of page, it will set it up so that you can type in your own notes. So let's give this a title. And then I hope you don't mind, I'm gonna copy paste some info from elsewhere into this page so that it has some text. So you've typed in some notes into the page, and just like other note-taking systems, you can highlight text and you'll be able to access different formatting options to make that notes page in the style that you want it to be. So I'm going to turn this into some bullet points, but there's further options there. Once you've got your notes in the page and you're happy with the layout, generally it's good practice to go back and review those notes. Usually going through and grabbing the important information that you want to remember and recall. And oftentimes that technique can be anything from highlighting to creating a summary in another notes page of these notes. Using Protolyst is very much at the highlighting end of that spectrum, because that's something that we are probably all quite familiar with doing because it draws our attention to important information when we are inside the notes page currently and when we come back to revisit it in future. But on Protolyst, you can do something a bit different with the highlights that you're creating. So when I showed you the formatting menu, some of you might have spotted that at the beginning of it, there is this capture atom button. So as you come across information that you would want to highlight or, you recognize is important or significant, you can highlight it, and then if you choose this capture atom button, you will save that piece of information as an atom. And you'll be given this, what we call the atom box, which shows you the text that you highlighted has been added into this section, and there are some other options. First of all, what is an atom? Why are we working with atoms? In science, atoms are the building blocks of matter, and they're assembled together in different ways to create new molecules and substances. And we felt that that was a very good analogy for information and knowledge, because very often if you're making a decision or trying to understand something or formulating an opinion, you will go out and collect a load of information and you will grab certain facts, ideas and concepts and evidence from all of that information and assemble it together into your understanding, opinion or decision. And so we felt that the atoms analogy worked really well for that idea of collecting from many different places and bringing it together to assemble it into something bigger. So that's why we use the term atom. In Protolyst, the atoms are your highlights, your text snippets, your golden nuggets, key concepts, the takeaways, anything in your notes that you want to be able to find again easily and use in your work or projects. So when you capture a piece of information as an atom, it's lifted out of the page. And that means that you can access and see it without needing to be inside this page. So pages hold your information, and atoms are the key pieces of information that you're grabbing out of those pages. So we've got this atom here, and above the atom, there is a colored and encircled bit of text with this kind of upward arrow in a circle next to it. This is a connection or link between the atom and this source page. And because you can view and access your atom outside of this page, we automatically add this so that you can always jump back to that original source. And so that's as much as I'm going to go into in atoms in this video. They pull your info out of the page and you always have this link back to the original source or original page in your workspace where that atom came from. And so to close that box, you just click outside and that piece of text is now highlighted within your page. And as you continue, you can create more atoms, highlight that text, capture the atom, lift it out of the page, and you can continue collecting as many as you like from this page. So let's add in another notes page and capture a few atoms from that too. So we're going to add a new page using the plus button up here, choose the text editor type, and then I'm going to add in some notes into this page. And again, I'm going to copy paste them from elsewhere so you don't have to watch me typing. So this is about types of memory, so I'm going to add that as the title. I'm going to grab some atoms from here, highlight that text, capture atom, and then highlight this text, capture atom. So I've captured a few atoms in this page, and going back to that first page, we've got a couple of atoms in this page too. And so I mentioned that atoms lift your information out of the page, and we haven't really seen that just yet. So there are kind of two main ways that you can start to take advantage of this behavior with your important info. And the first one is going to all pages. So the all pages is located above this blue plus button, and it's a search function through everything that you've added into your workspace. So we've only got 2 notes in here, but as you add more pages and information into your workspace, this becomes very useful for you to navigate to the info that you want quickly. So on the left side, we've got a list of all the pages that we've added in. So the 2 notes pages here, then these are some pages set up by default when you create your workspace. And then on the right, we've got a list of all those atoms that we've captured. So all of the atoms that you capture from any of the pages in your workspace will list here, and you can search through that information by keyword. So if I started typing out idea, you can see that the one atom in the workspace that makes use of that word is displaying here. And once I've found that atom, I can use that source tag, which I mentioned earlier, to jump right back to the page that it's in within my workspace. So if I click this source tag, it will open up the source of my atom, and I can see where that atom came from in this notes page. So one other thing to mention here is split screen. So where I clicked on the source tag here, it's opened up the source page next to the page that I was in. And this is so that you don't lose your place in your first page, but can still consult that original source. So to close split screen, you can use this button here or this cross button to close either side of the screen. So if I close this one, I can focus in on this specific page. And when you are in one of your pages, there are some other options in the top right of your screen. So there's a page options menu, this 3-dot button, and there's options to download your notes, as well as some other writing tools down here. And some other options, which as you get more familiar with your workspace, will be useful to you. And then the one other menu that we're going to take a look at is the atoms menu. So if you click this, this will give you a list of all of the atoms or highlights that you've taken from this page. So if you've got a very long document, this can be quite useful to see the most important information all together in one place. But again, that's not outside of the page. So to close that menu, you can click this button, or you can use these double right pointing arrows to close that menu out. So the other way that you can see your atoms outside the page is when you organize your pages into a table. It's another type of page in the Protolyst workspace. But within a table, you can see different information about the rows or pages in that table. And one of those is an atoms property. So you'll be able to see the atoms that you've collected from a particular page in a table view. So let me show you how you can set that up. So again, we're going to go to the plus button at the top of the sidebar, and this time we're going to choose table. This is going to be our table. There are a few properties that are automatically set up in your table when you create a table on Protolyst. I'm going to call this all notes, and then as you can see, we've got a name for the notes, and then we have an atoms property which will display all the atoms that we've captured from a page, and then we've also got this subpages option. I'm not going to go into that today, so we're going to delete it, and to do that you can click on the title of the column and then choose delete property, and that will delete it from the view. Okay, so we've got our table to organize our notes in. Let's move the notes in there. So to move these 2 notes pages, I'm just going to click on them and then drag them onto the all notes table. And you'll see that it's now moved in to sit as a row of this table. If I expand this atoms property, you will see that the atoms that I captured in this types of memory note are displaying here in this column. So by organizing your info into these tables with that atoms property, you're starting to be able to see the details inside a page without needing to have it open. So let me just move that other page inside this all notes table as well. I'm going to delete this empty row at the bottom, and to do that I do a right click, and then there's a series of options, and one of those is delete. So I can delete that one there. So I've got both my notes pages in this table and all of the atoms that I've captured from those notes pages in this atoms column. So in some ways you can use your table a little bit like a folder. All of your notes on a particular topic or project could sit as a row of the table, and then if they were sources that you were going through and grabbing important info from, you'd be able to have an atoms property in your table and see all of that important info without needing to open up each file or page to get to your information. Okay, so there's two more things I want to go through. The first one is taking notes from different sources. So we've gone through typed notes. I want to talk about other sources that you might be wanting to take notes from. And then secondly, I want to show you how you can start to use the atoms that you've collected in a piece of writing. So let's talk about the different sources of info. So generally when we're taking notes, they come from some kind of source, whether that's a person that's lecturing with or without slides that they might be going through and have shared with you, a textbook, online articles, or any other downloaded material that we might have access to. So I'm going to go through how you can upload different file types into Protolyst and capture atoms, as well as importing content from different web pages into your workspace, again to capture atoms. First off, let's do an upload. So we're going to add a new row into the table here, and then to open up that, very much like the page interface we had when we used the plus button from the sidebar, I'm going to choose this open option. And then there are a few different page types. We've looked at text editor and table. The next one is file upload. So if you click this, you'll be prompted to navigate to a file to upload into your workspace. So let me just grab one that I downloaded recently on Hebbian plasticity. So I've got that source inside my workspace, and just like before in the typed notes page, as I'm working through, I can grab sections of information and then choose capture atom from the pop-up. And just like before, it creates that atom box with the text that I've highlighted displaying here. And again, it creates that source link between this atom and this source page in the workspace. If I now jump back to the notes page, that atom I just captured is appearing in the atoms column next to the Hebbian plasticity page. And then let's rinse and repeat for the web page. So new, open, and then we're going to choose this web page option. And this gives you a box where you can paste the URL of the web page. So let me grab and paste it in here. So now we've got all the info from that web page inside Protolyst. And again, you can grab the important info as an atom. So highlight and click capture atom, and that's been lifted out the page as an atom. So let me grab a couple more. So I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but to get back to the table, you can of course navigate to it in your sidebar, or you can go back to it using this breadcrumb link up the top, which shows the table that this current page sits in. So you go back to all notes that way, and all the atoms are listing there. So we've collected a load of information from several different sources, including your own type notes. And so the last bit of this flow that I want to talk about is using those atoms to write something. Let's add another page into the workspace, give it some kind of title, and we're going to set it up as a text editor page so that we can write and work in it. And then we've collected a load of information across a variety of different topics, but loosely around remembering and organizing information. So I'm going to open that up in split screen next to this page so that I can refer to that table with all the atoms inside it. So to open up in split screen, you do Control click, and it will open up the two pages side by side. And there's a little slider option here for you to change the size so you can see more or less of the table. I often make this really narrow so that I have more real estate for the atoms, but also plenty of room for typing into my text page. And then I've obviously gone through and collected a lot of information, and I can make use of that information by dragging and dropping it into this page. And it gives me the text from that atom ready for me to edit and integrate into my writing. It also creates a citation and adds a references section to the page. And the references section will display the page title, which is pulled automatically from the title of your page, which can be taken from the web page title or the file information when you upload files. And this citation will actually link you back to where the atom came from in the original source. So if I click this, it will take me back to the source page in my workspace, and I can see the exact place where that atom came from. So I can gather further context to use in my writing, but also always just have that direct link back to where that piece of info came from. So I can then jump into this page and start to edit it and work it into a piece of original writing on a particular topic, with all of those references kind of automatically added, dragging and dropping the atoms in as I want to use them in my writing. So this is not my best work, but once you've gone through and you've used the atoms, you'll have a reference list. And if you want to axe any of the atoms, you can get rid of them. Once you're done, you can export it out of Protolyst for next steps by going to this three dots menu in the top right of your page and then choosing download as PDF or download as doc. And this will export that page in the file type of your choosing. And so I'm going to stop there in terms of the capability and features within Protolyst that you could use. And so we first built this platform to help us with corralling information together from lots of different sources to help with decision making in building companies. And it really transformed our workflows in that we weren't spending loads of time trying to go back and rediscover or re-find information because it was already there, kind of waiting for us. And so even if you aren't using Protolyst, I hope that there were some useful insights and takeaways there to implement into your own flows. So I'm planning to do some more walkthroughs in this kind of style and format, showing you how you can use Protolyst to grab all of your atoms and then organize them in different ways so that you can synthesize and apply the information that you've added into your workspace. So if you have any particular questions or workflow requests, do let me know in the comments. There's also some other example workflows over on the Protolyst YouTube channel. So thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.